world favorite sports book brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. This one is nuts, folks. Bet $1 on any game. $1. Get $200 free bets. Folks, it's ready to roll. We don't want to dilly-dally. We don't want to waste time like those other preview shows. Let's get to it. Sean Koerner, we're talking about props. What do you got, brother?
I'm going DJ Chark under 41.5 receiving yards. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why the hell would I want to root for DJ Chark to do nothing for 60 minutes? But think of it this way. You were just rooting for DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and TJ Hawkinson to rack up catches. That's the way I would think about it. And that's likely what's going to happen here. Now, I like the fact that the Lions added a deep threat in DJ Chark. This offense was missing that element last year, so I think he will improve the offense. However, it could take him a few games to kind of build chemistry with Jared Goff. Goff only threw in a tight coverage 11% of the time last year, according to Next Gen Stats. And DJ Chark isn't someone that gets a lot of separation. So, Goff probably won't look his way too often. Plus, he's probably going to be matched up against Darius Slay for most of this matchup. So there's a ton of reasons why I like his under today. I'm projecting his median closer to 33.5 yards. So I like the value we're getting on the under here.
How low would you go if that number is moving
low? I would probably go down to 38.5. Plus, if Frank Ragnow is ruled out, I would probably go even lower because that's going to mean Jared Goff has less time to target Chark deep or wait for him to get open. So I'd watch out for the Ragnow news. If he's ruled out, I would bet this down probably to 36.5.
Yeah, reminder, folks, there's been a ton of overnight news on offensive lines, especially in the NFC North, the Packers, the Lions. This is why you got to watch this show, so you can be up to date on the latest betting action. Simon Hunter, what do you got, man?
Chad, good to be back. Sunday morning, spending my mornings with Chad. Every man's dream is to wake up and talk to Chad about football.
It's Raybon who's supposed to come after me. I expect more from you.
If you're new to the show, we bet a lot of unders here, right? We love unders and ugly dogs. And Chris and Sean, they're the same way as me. But sometimes I'll bet an over. And it's usually on these player props because to me, that's the fun. You root for the whole game for an over on a player prop. Then that miserable life of, man, this guy's going to kneel it down or do whatever at the end and mess with our props. I love the over for Justin Fields. I'm looking at a 49ers defense that, what's their strength? The D-line. What did we see last year when the Bears and the 49ers played? Fields is running for his life. I think he ran for 103 yards on 10 carries. Most of them were designed runs. Most of them was the pocket broke down. He just got outside and he ran. So when I'm looking at this matchup, I know the weather is going to be bad. Not a lot of throwing. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of running, a lot of, blitzes from the outside. He's going to have to step up in the pocket, holes up the middle. That's what we're rooting for, right? So to me, at 33, 35, whatever you can get it at right now, maybe bet up even more. People are going to be on this just because of that prop with this weather. That really sticks out, especially the new coaching staff wants to get him outside the pocket on the move. I love this number. I would bet it up to 35, 36. To me, it's just a smart play on Justin Fields where I can't trust his arm so much, but his legs, I've seen him do it, and I've seen it doing against his 49ers defense.
All right, look, this is another game, right? George Kittle out. We're going to preview that and talk about the implications later in the show with Samantha and Raybon and a fantasy update. Offensive line issues for the Niners. Rain in Chicago. Justin Fields, what can he do? I don't know. I might be convinced. Raybon, what do you got?
Chad, you got to go with Randall Cobb, under 41.5 receiving yards for the Packers against the Minnesota Vikings. This is 32-year-old Randall Cobb we're talking about. This is the Randall Cobb who last time we saw him, he had a yardage prop of 28.5, and he went under by 28.5. The market always overrates him in these spots when he's projected to get more playing time. But in reality, when he had 70% or more routes run last year, he averaged just 15 yards a game with a high of 22. So he never goes off in these spots when you expect him to. And that's why last season, he went under his yardage prop in 11 of 14 games that he played. And again, this is the Packers. They're messed up on the offensive line. And they probably won't even use a slot receiver a ton because they have two running backs that they want to get on the field on the same time in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They got their tight end back in Robert Tonyan. They usually keep four active with Mercedes Lewis, Tyler Davis, and Josiah DeGuara. So they'll probably use a bunch of 2-2 personnel and 1-2 personnel. Cobb will probably be a third down specialist. He would need probably 4 catches to get to this, to get over this number. He could get 4 or 5 and still go under because he's a slot receiver. His average depth of target is usually going to be in that 8 to 10 yard range anyway. So I would go way under this number. I have it at 32 for Randall Cobb. So I go down to 36.5. Take the under on Cobb. Do yourself a favor.
Oh my God, you guys, I got Koerner coming at me with next gen stats. I got you coming at me with depth of target numbers. I got Simon asking me to bet an over on the quarterback who might carry my team to greatness. Here's my question for Raybon and for Koerner. Koerner, you first. What would you put as the ceiling for Justin Fields rushing yards? Because that Simon has 33 in there. And that number is already moving. So give me a ceiling from your point of view. Koerner, you go first.
Well, I mean, his ceiling is over 100 yards. Well, if you want to define
what
ceiling.
Number would you bet at? What would you bet the over?
I'm staying away from this, but I do have Fields over 525 on the season because I think they, like Simon said, he does scramble at a high rate. Plus, also, I think the new offensive coordinator, Luke Getsky, is implementing more design runs for Fields too. So on a wet, windy day like this, I could definitely see him clearing like 50 yards.
Raybon, do you have a line of demarcation for Randall Cobb?
Like what number?
I mean, I'm not sure for Justin Fields.
For Justin Fields, he has no ceiling. I have him on every fantasy team, so I cannot dissuade you from betting Justin Fields.
You guys are killing me because here's the problem. I love the Randall Cobb prop. I love the DJ Chark prop, and I love the Justin Fields prop. I don't know if it's recency bias, but Raybon, you were last. You completely got me on the depth of target. This guy could get 5 catches and still not get to 41 yards. He might not get to 20 yards on 5 catches. It pains me, and I will say, in all sincerity, I'm betting all 3 of these props. But Raybon, I felt like you brought the thunder in the first round for Convince Me in 2022. Well done. I'm going with Randall Cobb under 41.5. Darren Rovell, give me the news.
What's up, Chad? We will be giving you the poll later in the broadcast, so we'll get to that. But first, we'll bring you the most lopsided money. No one is giving the Jets any chance today in the Joe Flacco Classic against the Ravens. About 90% of the money, 89% of the bets coming in on the Ravens 6.5. Then, of course, we have the Chiefs and Cardinals and the auto Patrick Mahomes bet by the public. 77 to 80% of the bets, 87% of the money for the Chiefs to cover the 6.5. The Baker Mayfield Classic, the Panthers and the Browns, and again 80% of the money, 80% of the bets on the Panthers at 2.5. And the tightest game, Chad, seems to be the Raiders and the Chargers. It's basically perfectly split down the middle. So if that's the best handicapped game out there, at least how the public sees it, that's the one game that it's pretty much exactly split down the middle.
So the public seems to be as confused about this game,
yes,
as Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. Let's get to the spreads. We're gonna wait for it. Spread the love. We're gonna talk about the sides. Koerner, I know you're gonna tell me something disgusting.
Oh yeah, and that is Giants plus 5.5. First off, I love this matchup because not only did I take the Giants to go over their 6.5 win total, I also took the Titans to finish under their 9.5 win total. And the reason I like the Giants this season is, the offense should be much better under Brian Daboll this year, as he'll be bringing a more innovative analytical approach to the organization. Obviously, he won't be able to turn Daniel Jones into the next Josh Allen, but he should at least be able to bring out the best version of Daniel Jones we've seen yet. And don't forget, they finished last season 0-6 because Daniel Jones was out. They were platooning Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm. And, heading into week 1 this year, this is probably the first time in Daniel Jones' career the entire starting offense is healthy. So I think they're going to get off to a good start here. And on the other side, the Titans are a team I'm expecting to regress quite a bit this season. The offense is definitely going to take a step back without A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and first-round pick Treylon Burks doesn't look ready to be a difference maker quite yet. Plus, they relied a ton on one-score luck last season, going 6-2 in one-score games. That's, if you remember, that's one of the many reasons I faded them against the Bengals in the divisional round in the playoffs last year. So give me the Giants plus 5.5. I think that's just way too many points. I would set this closer to Tennessee -3.
Yeah, this is a really interesting game. Simon and I talked about it a lot on the Favorites podcast this week. It is a game that feels like it's getting a ton of wise guy love. So you were in line with the professional bettors there. I'm not sure I'm convinced yet. Simon Hunter, what do you got?
How about a home dog, Chad? Not a road dog, a home dog. 8 of them today. Let's pick one. How about Atlanta against a divisional foe in the Saints with what? A rookie head coach and Jameis Winston? Is this a gift? Is this real? What is happening right now? So I looked at this number when it came out. Thought 3 was fair, right? Give respect to the Saints, better team, better defense. But the public kept betting it up, and they kept betting it up. And now it's up to 5.5. And that's just insane to me. When you have a divisional matchup like this, I'm always going to be slanted towards the home team in this position. But we've seen the numbers, right? We've seen ATS rookie head coaches. They're just not that good. They just don't play well in week 1. And I believe the stat is 7-16 week 1 ATS, 3-19 straight up. It's just these rookie coaches, it's just tough to win week 1 because how much it takes to prepare, and you're in the moment, right? You're in the game, a lot's going on. That's where I give the advantage to Atlanta in this position. I just think it's going to be too much for this Saints team to go on the road and beat a team where Atlanta's healthy right now. They got Drake London is back. Like, that's their receiver. Kyle Pitts is back. Mariota is healthy. And we joke all the time, Mariota might be good from the 20-yard line to the other 20-yard line. But once you get inside the red zone, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. So to me, I do like this Atlanta team to be able to move the ball on the Saints team. And I think you're getting a steal here at 5.5, just in the sense the public's all over the Saints team for no reason. Like, Sean Payton's gone. Drew Brees isn't there. It's literally a whole new regime. So I do think we're getting good value on the public thinking this is the old Saints, where this is a new era for this Saints team.
Yeah, this feels like a little bit of a trap if you want to bet the favorite. One stat which Raybon talked about on the Action Network podcast was Stuckey earlier this week. Divisional dogs in week 1 covering at a 64% rate since 2004. A lot of divisional dogs this week. If you're looking to find a little bit of value, Atlanta's not the only one against the Saints. Raybon, talk to me.
Chad, we are going with the team that all of a sudden the whole media is down on. They have no coaches. They can't do anything on offense. They had a bad preseason. Oh my God. The New England Patriots plus 3.5 at the Miami Dolphins. I'm buying the dip on the Patriots. First of all, Simon just mentioned it. You have a first-time head coach, a first-time offensive coordinator going up against Bill Belichick, who's 30-15 as a dog against the spread since 2004. This Patriots team still has one of the best offensive lines in the league. They still have the better quarterback in this game. And their offense was top 5 in DVOA last year. So everyone's kind of concerned about them in the new scheme, but they have a long way to drop. And all they really did was add a first-round rookie at guard and Devontae Parker. So they might actually be better talent-wise on offense. And then you look at the Dolphins. Can Tua get the ball deep to Tyreek? Who knows? How is he going to operate with the new left tackle? Who knows? Like, there's a lot going on, and that's new in Miami as well. But everyone seems to be down on this Patriots team. Again, divisional dogs, everyone talks about them at home. On the road, they're 36-23-1 since 2004. They're still covering well over 60%. Divisional dogs in week 1 are 29-9 since 2010. And week 1 divisional dogs, they're actually winning on the money line. They're 34-31 straight up since 2010. So I just think this line with the hook is absurd. I think it should be on the other side of 3. But, the narrative around the Patriots, they can't go to Miami and play football, even though 8 of their last 10 games in Miami have been in December. The last time they went to Miami in September, which a couple years ago, they won 43-0.
Yeah, look, this is a game where the number has been moving. It was below 3. It was at 2.5. All this sentiment for the Dolphins. it's really interesting because people are just deciding that the Patriots are done, and they bought into what Tua can do with Tyreek Hill. What feels like off of one throw, everybody saw as
it was underthrow too. It was an underthrow.
Camp. Yeah, it was. It was underthrown. Simon, before I make my choice, you and I talked a lot about this Giants-Tennessee game. Give me your take on this game as it differs from Sean Koerner.
I think Sean's just drinking the Kool-Aid, the Daniel Jones Kool-Aid. People always get sucked in. It's that time of year, right, Chad? We joke every season. This is when people start drinking the hype for Daniel Jones. And I get it. Like, it's everything he said is a good position, but I still think it's like the overlooking the fact of rookie head coach on the road with Daniel Jones with an unproven team that was horrible last year, playing against Vrabel, coach of the year. Tennessee, I get it. There should be a lot of doubt there. They lost the main weapon, A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry's fully healthy. Like, that's a big deal. So to me, if this was week 8, I'd be all over this number. I'd love the Giants. I just haven't seen it. Like, in the preseason, their offense looks sloppy in this new system. So yeah, it's a risky bet, but like you just talked about, every pro I know is on it. So me and you might look like idiots, Chad, if we're not on it with them, but I don't know what to do. I've already taken a stance on Tennessee, but Sean has good company. So I would say the smart money is with Sean on this game.
Well, listen, nobody ever said we were always playing the smartest game. So I love Atlanta in this spot. It's really about divisional dogs. It's really about not believing in Jameis. It's not being able to believe in what the Saints can be, that they should be 5.5-point favorites with a new regime. Sean Payton gone. Give me Atlanta plus 5.5. All right, let's do a quick fantasy debate. Allen Lazard, Packers receiver, number 1 Packers receiver with Devontae Adams gone. He's injured, or he's doubtful this week in week 1 against the Vikings. A lot of changes coming up for the Packers with the offensive line injuries as well. Samantha Koerner, Samantha, you first. Any Packers receiver you trust in week 1 against the Vikings?
Trust is a strong word for me, Chad, but Lazard's absence gives me a little more confidence about starting Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson. But I am here to talk to you today about Sammy Week 1 Watkins. I don't love any of the pass catchers, like I said, but I would hate to squander a mouth-watering matchup against the Vikings, who gave up an average of 35 fantasy points per game to wide receivers last year, the worst in the NFL. Rodgers was also a Viking killer last year, 673 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in their 2 games combined. But back to Watkins. Seriously, I need to find someone who looks at me the same way that Watkins looks at week 1. 2019, he reeled in almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, his lone double-digit fantasy performance all year. Next year, Watkins caught 7 targets for 82 yards and a touchdown. Again, his only time all season where he got more than 10 fantasy points. And then last year, caught a season high 96 yards. So what better way to start the NFL season than with a Watkins one-hit wonder, only for him to never be heard from again. He is only 23% rostered, and I think it's a nice 1-week dart throw. I will add Robert Tonyan is also not a terrible play this week with Lazard sidelined. He was a dud last year, partly due to injury, but he is just 2 seasons removed from an 11 touchdown tight end 3 finish and should get some red zone looks with Lazard out. So if you're in a pinch, it is Watkins or Tonyan for me.
Koerner, what's your take?
Yeah, I can't trust anybody this week. I agree with Samantha. If there was ever a time to start Sammy Watkins, it'd be week 1 here. But if you're having to start Sammy Watkins, you're probably drunk at your draft, and your wide receivers suck. But I think the one guy that I would absolutely have on my team is Romeo Doubs. I wouldn't play him this week, but he is the most likely guy to potentially replace Devontae Adams in this offense. He looked really good in preseason. It might take him a few games to kind of mesh with Aaron Rodgers and stop making some of these mistakes, but he has the most long-term upside. So I'm leaving Doubs on my bench and hoping he goes off, because that would mean that I potentially have a wide receiver 3 the rest of the season.
All right, look, I'm going to give Samantha extra points for bringing 2 moments of alliteration in her segment, and that tugs on my literary heartstrings. Thank you to you both. Another fantasy segment coming up. We're going to talk about George Kittle's absence and the impact it's going to have on your tight end lineups, on your tight end roster spots, on the 49ers offense. But before we get to that, we got to talk about some totals. Koerner, you're up first.
So I like the under on this Patriots-Dolphins game. Under 46 is where it's at right now. And I do agree with Raybon. I think Pat's getting 3.5 is way too high here. I mean, I love getting 3.5 because 3 is such a key number, but I think this is going to be a lower scoring close game. And the Pats, I do think the Pats offense could get off to a slow start, though. They're still trying to figure out what the offensive scheme will be following Josh McDaniels' departure. Joe Judge and Matt Patricia have been tasked to come up with a new scheme, and it hasn't been a smooth process, to say the least. Obviously, we don't need to, look into preseason too much, but they did have their dress rehearsal week 3, and through 4 drives against the Raiders backups, they managed to muster up 1 field goal on the final drive. So it wasn't pretty. I think one of the things is the offensive line has been struggling with the shift to more outside zone run scheme. So, that's something to look for. They could be off to a slow start and lean on their defense a bit more in this game. And on the other side, the Dolphins offense should be much better this year under new head coach Mike McDaniel, and of course with Tyreek Hill in the mix. But it could take them a couple games to really hit their stride. They're still trying to figure out how to use players like Mike Gesicki, who doesn't really fit in their scheme. So they could get off to a slow start as well. Plus, they attempted to pass at the 6th highest rate last year on early downs. I think after the investments they made in the offensive line and in the running game, they could be more balanced this year. So this, plus this game is going to be over 90 degrees with the potential for some rain at times. I mean, that's the only thing you get in Miami, of course. But I think that could be a slower pace due to the heat. So a lot of reasons to like the under 46 here.
All right, Simon, what do you got?
Got a gross under for you, Chad. Tennessee, the Giants. 2 teams that I feel like we all know their identity, right, heading into this year. They both are going to be run-first teams that really rely on their defenses. And getting an early matchup here, I had it at 44.5 last night on bet365. It's down to 44. Still a good number. Still would take it, a key number. So to me, I love this matchup. Love both these teams to really drug this game out. And I just can't really see either offense put up a lot of points, right? It does feel like what Sean talked about. The Tennessee is going to have some growing pains here without A.J. Brown. And I do think Daniel Jones, he maybe can improvement, but he's really going to be putting up 35, 40 points against Tennessee defense. I just can't see it happening week 1. I do think both teams will kind of play it safe and rely on what their best offensive weapons are. Saquon Barkley for the Giants and Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans. So love the fact that I'm getting arguably the 2 best running back matchups in this week 1, and I got a total of 44. I really did think this was going to be a 42 total. So the fact that I feel like I'm getting 2 free points is a really good under bet for me.
Listen, this is a rubber match round for this competition. Simon's got one. Raybon's got one. Can Raybon convince me to go with his total bet?
Yes, I can, Chad, because you got to go with the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under 50.5. Now, everyone's going to look at this game. It's a rematch of the opener from last season, and 60 points were scored. It flew over the total of 52, 53. I think it closed that. But let's compare this game to where these teams were at a season ago. Last season, in that game, you had Amari Cooper go for 13 catches, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had Antonio Brown go for 121 yards and a touch. You had Rob Gronkowski go for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Chris Godwin, who's also, if he is, he went for 105 yards and 1 touchdown. So right off the bat, you could have up to 500 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns receiving from that game combined. That's not here. Then you look at the offensive line. Okay, in that game, Dallas, Tyron Smith at left tackle, 62 snaps, no sacks. Connor Williams, 62 snaps, no sacks. La'el Collins, 62 snaps, no sacks. They're all gone. Tampa Bay, the entire interior offensive line that each played 50 snaps, allowed 2 pressures among the 3 of them, and Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, and Alex Kappa. They're all gone. So you're missing 500 receiving yards. You're missing over 300 snaps on the offensive line with 0 sacks given up and only 5 pressures across all those players. And now you're coming here in week 1 with, Brady, what's he been most vulnerable to? Interior pressure. And then for the Cowboys, Tyron Smith on the field, they average 7.8 yards per attempt. Tyron Smith off the field drops to 7.1. Both of these teams have major adjustments to make given all the changes on their offense and their offensive line. And both of these defenses, top 10 in DVOA last year, top 4 in pressure rate, which is going to be big, and they're healthy. So this is just one of those games where I think it goes completely the opposite of how it did a year ago. But because we got Tom Brady, prime time, nationally televised game, you're getting all this inflation. Primetime games with a total of 49 or higher, they've gone under about a 56% clip. And Tom Brady in those games, they've gone under about a 58% clip. So you always get that Brady inflation for these type of matchups. But I would worry about both offensive lines.
You've made a great argument, Raybon. There's no reason not to bet the under in this one. If I'm not doing it for this show, it's only because I might not be able to stay up to watch the end of it. And I can't live with that as a circumstance for me. I love what Koerner is saying around Miami and New England. This is just going to be a sloppy, ugly game between two teams that are going to play conservatively. It's already 88 degrees. I just Googled it. It's 88 degrees in Miami at 11:29 in the morning. It's going to be a sloppy, terrible, ugly game. It's going to be an under game, under 44.5. I'm going with Sean Koerner. All right. We talked about George Kittle being out for the Niners. Let's do our next fantasy segment. Raybon, which tight end would you pick up? And how do you think this impacts the rest of the 49ers offense?
So in terms of tight ends I pick up, Albert Okwuegbunam is my tight end 9. He's just over 50% owned, so he might not be available, but I think he has just a great matchup against Seattle and obviously an upgrade at quarterback. So if he's not there, then I would go with Gerald Everett. He's only 24% rostered, and he's my tight end 11. The Chargers' backup tight end Donald Parham is out, so that could lead to a couple more snaps, a couple more routes for Gerald Everett, but he's also getting an upgrade at quarterback in Justin Herbert. And I think, looking at Jared Cook last year in that role, Jared Cook was on the last legs of his career. He's not currently on an NFL roster. So I just think a younger player like Everett in that role is going to be more, more profitable for fantasy purposes than Jared Cook. And if both of those guys for some reason aren't there, you can always go with Irv Smith. He's my tight end 12. And he's also just around 50%, but one of those three should be available. Irv Smith in this new Kevin O'Connell offense, he's going to take that Tyler Higbee role from the Rams. And Higbee was on the field 85-90% of the time and rarely ever pass blocked. So there should be a lot of targets to go around in that Minnesota offense. And I think Smith is worthy of a top 12 play this week. So Alberto, Gerald Everett, or Irv Smith.
All right, Samantha, what do you got?
Sure. I mean, would it really be fantasy football without a week 1 fire drill? So some of my favorite fill-ins for Kittle this week, looking at guys under 50% rostered. I already mentioned Robert Tonyan at the Vikings, Hayden Hurst versus the Steelers, Austin Hooper against the Giants, Brevin Jordan versus the Colts, and Mo Alley-Cox at the Texans. Next on the 49ers depth chart is like a whole bunch of names: Charlie Werner, Tyler Kroft, and Ross Dwelly. I'm not interested in any of those guys. Tonyan and Hurst stand out to me as widely available options with high upside. We already talked about Tonyan, like I said. Hurst's matchup isn't great, but he is a former first-round pick on a stellar offense. Kittle being out really hurts Trey Lance. I would say not enough to sit him, though, in season-long leagues. I would consider him a low-end QB1 against this soft Bears team. Debo, you were already starting him. Obviously, he's a top 12 player with or without Kittle. Brandon Ayuk, though, could be the biggest beneficiary of a Kittle absence. From week 9 onwards last year, once he got out of the doghouse with Kyle Shanahan, Ayuk was the wide receiver 13.5 PPR. I think he's a wide receiver 3 this week with significant upside.
All right. All the fantasy news you need to lock your lineups for the day. Rovell, take us home with the news.
All right. Let's first tell you this interesting note, which is that this is the first time since 2010 that there is no game with a wider spread than 7. Of course, that Texans number comes down from 8.5 to 7. It's an interesting note, makes it harder for all of us. Our poll, it is the most ever home underdogs we've ever seen, 10. We asked you who wins outright, and to Simon's delight, the Falcons at 36%. The Jets, you said, had no chance at 11%. Texans 23%, Bears 30%, and Falcons 36%. Most intriguing over Chiefs Cardinals 53.5. We just saw it go to 54 at a couple books. The money is on the over the Auto Mahomes bet, and also, as we mentioned, the Dolphins Pats under of 43. At a couple books, more than 90% of the money is at the on the under, which, as you know, that almost never happens. So people liking the idea of this being a hot, ugly slop fest. Chad.
All right, so basically what all this is saying to me is, Koerner, we've gone very square with the Pats Fins under. Simon, we are on the side of the public with the Falcons, which gives me very little confidence for either of those plays. But listen, we're going to go with what brung us. And so we're going to play unders. We're going to play divisional dogs. Hey, reminder, we're brought to you by Bet365. It's the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Great deal, folks. Bet $1 on any game, get $200 in free bets. Let's do a little recap. I liked, from the Convince Me crew, I liked Randall Cobb under 41.5 receiving yards in the game. I liked Atlanta plus 5.5 against the Saints at home. I liked the Patriots and Miami game to go under 44.5. Recap for everything. Sean Koerner, he liked DJ Chark under 41.5 receiving yards for the Lions today. He liked the Giants plus 5.5. He liked Pats and Miami under 44.5. Simon liked Justin Fields over 33 rushing yards. Atlanta plus 5.5 against New Orleans. He liked the Tennessee Giants game under 44.5. And Raybon liked Randall Cobb under 41.5 receiving yards. He liked the Pats plus 3.5 on the road against Miami. He liked Dallas and Tampa under 50.5. So essentially all dogs, all unders, except for one player prop. Download the Action Network app. It's free, folks. You'll get all these picks in the Action Network app. Follow all of us there. Also, reminder, tomorrow, noon Eastern, Green Dot Daily, our daily show setting the betting agenda for the day. Everything you didn't know for NFL, Monday Night Football. This has been Convince Me. Good luck in week 1.